Hello, everyone. So lovely to know that you're here, wherever you are right now, but you're here in this moment and obviously committing to yourself and to the practice of mindfulness and compassion. And this is what our sessions are about, to offer yourself a moment to drop in, to check in, to do a little bit of a mindful reading through the body and mind, and then proceed with whatever you have to do next. But for now, it's quite exciting today that I actually managed to get a very inspiring person being willing to meet us here in this space. Urry is a Perth-based yoga teacher, and he's also the founder of the Soul Sanctuary Safaris, and that would be also interesting to hear a little bit more about it. So I thought I interview or invite Neil to our session, just to hear a little bit about what brings him to the teaching and the practice of yoga, and what his experience is with meditation, of course. I originally announced this session as a kind of a share movement practice, but I met with Neil earlier on, and we might just twist it a little bit, and Neil might do a different meditation with us together, which is a wonderful opportunity. So let me just bring Neil onto the screen so we can all start together. I hope this works.
Regina, hi.
Yes, it works. This is so cool.
It is very cool. Hello, everybody out there. How you doing? Nice to cyber meet you all.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Neil, once again for taking your time and meeting with us. And I know it's very short time, and maybe, there will be a catch up. There's so much to talk about. So yeah, as I mentioned, the way how it's structured is you probably talk a little bit about what brings you to the practice and whatever you find important to share. And maybe in the context of COVID, maybe we have a bit of a moment to talk a little bit about, okay, so how are you dealing with that, and how is the practice helping you coping with all the insights that may surface? And then I was hoping whether you could do a short meditation practice with us together before we then conclude. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that sounds excellent. Yes, great.
Fantastic. So Neil, yes, so you are located or based in Perth, and a yoga teacher, and as I mentioned, the founder of the Soul Sanctuary Safari. So very curious to hear wherever you want to start, what brought you, to become a yoga teacher and founding the business.
So my journey into yoga started back in 2001. Actually, I've always been interested in the physical body. I was a personal trainer and gym instructor in a previous life. And then when I moved to Perth, my friends that I was living with, they brought me a 1 month gift pass to Ashtanga yoga, which I think was a gift. But there were moments during the Ashtanga yoga that I thought, this is not a gift, this is torturous, this is hard work. But now in hindsight, having done a little bit more practice, it was one of the greatest gifts that could ever been bestowed on me, just to bring together the physicality, which I obviously loved through the practice of PT and gym instructing, but also that underlying spirituality and an opportunity for a mindfulness of meditation whilst moving at the same time. It kind of blew me away. First of all, to find a physical practice that was so incredibly strong and dynamic, but then when you got down into Shavasana at the end of the practice, like, what have I just done? What, that hour of physicality, how has it created this effect on my physical body? I was tingling and buzzing, and I was leaving in states of euphoria that I'd never ever experienced before. And I was hooked. After a couple of sessions, I was hooked, and I continued the gym that I was working at. They were offering classes there. I was also doing a kinesiology course, so the mindfulness, the spirituality, the energetic base coming together with the physicality of a yoga practice. It was all the path was all kind of converging to one. And then one day my yoga teacher said to me, look, your practice is coming along nicely. You obviously resonate with people well. You get your information over well. Have you ever thought about becoming a yoga teacher? And at that point I was like, do I want my fun part of myself to now become my vocation? And again, that was another transitional period in my life. It was that day when I decided I no longer wanted to be doing what I was doing. I wanted to move into yoga and teaching yoga. Now, 8 years on, it's opened doors for me. It's led me to opportunities and people that in my wildest dreams I could never, ever have imagined.
Wow. That's in a nutshell, I suppose, but that is so resonating and with me. And I think the work with the body from that angle is so important. I just, if you don't mind me sharing, just the other day when I went to yoga, and actually you were one of the key people really sort of getting me or got me really hooked in yoga more and more so. And there was one particular movement that I always struggled with, and I said I couldn't overcome confusion in my mind. Why can I not come over this particular move? Why can't I just do it? So meeting the frustration and the grief and all of that, but also realizing it's a blockage. It's an emotion that is kind of really manifest in my body that sort of hooks me there, that doesn't let me move on. That was really interesting to sort of find that kind of moment and realizing, oh wow, so this is actually not something really physical. That's an emotion that's holding me here, stuck. And with the help from a yoga teacher and your help, that was just really helping to opening it up and to bring some release to it and work with it from a different angle. So it's so important, when we talk about mindfulness, people still try to conceptualize what mindfulness means and all of that, but it's so important to connect it really with the body and to fully grasp what mindfulness needs or means is the work with the body to
Yes.
fully understand that.
I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I enjoyed it so much was that the first level to awareness of change is this vessel that we reside in. So we see it every single day, every time we look in the mirror, every time we put on clothes, every time we move, we are aware of what is happening in our physical body. And it's that starts you on your journey of exploration to want to find out more, that an understanding that this is not who I actually am. This is the car, and the soul or spirit is the driver. So I want to find out more about the driver. So, but to get to the driver, I must understand the workings and mechanics of my car first. So through a yoga practice, and like you said, the ability to get into a yoga posture and know that it elicits a response, and it's not just a physical response. There's mental, there's emotional, there's things that rise up for you in that moment. The ability to sit in that space whilst doing a physically dynamic posture and ask questions of why and how and what and where, and then surrender to the process once you've asked the questions and find yourself so in flow that the information is being given to you so quickly. You're being given so much information that all of a sudden that posture that you first of all thought that was never going to be attainable just opens up for you. That the need to try ceases and the need to be just happens, and it just happens for you. I think also going back to my journey into the practice of yoga and how I see the similarities of my yogic practice and my life practice, when you are in flow, you are so in no doubt that you are in flow that you must go with it. In the yoga practice, when you are noticing physical resistance or tension and tightness, you are no longer in that flow. So you need to back out and be in a state of exploration to find how you get back into flow. And if you can take that off of your mat and into life, when I meet resistances in my life, if I can take a couple of seconds to breathe, disassociate a little bit from my physical sensations and watch and observe and notice, the answers will come to me because I'm no longer subjectively involved in what's happened. I've removed and I'm objectively watching. I'm seeing this play, this television series play out in front of me. And then now with my new objective reality, I go back into subjectivity and go, bang, I know what I need to do. I'm back in flow. I change the shape of my posture. I change the direction of my movement. And all of a sudden, it's just taken you into a flow of practice that previously was not there. It was restricted.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, there's so much in there. And thank you so much for that sort of answer and exploration. And I think, it's just this, when you get out of the flow, just noticing it's also normal. It happens, I think it's important. I wonder what you think. It's important to then pause. Or if you get stuck, or if you feel the resistance, that's a great learning opportunity, and to better understand ourselves. And then just this matter of fact, acknowledging, this is what's going on right now, is already door opening, and then you can work with that, and that is so beautiful and powerful.
I was listening to Tara Brach the other day, and she was talking about how she'd gone out one morning, she was walking along the river, and she was in this euphorically blissful state. She was just amazing. And she took off along a little pathway of the trees and the birds, and it was amazing. She was out in nature, she could hear everything, she was attuned to everything. And then she walked through a spider's web. And she said it was amazing how quickly her demeanor changed. The anger, the frustration, the fear, the disappointment of walking through this web and getting it off, very angry. And it was just so amazing that she could transition from one state of euphoria so quickly into this discombobulated state of anger and disappointment and fear. And then in the moment, she realized where she'd gone, and she laughed. She kind of was like, that's quite amusing, that it's taken something as tiny as a spider and a spider's web to throw me off of my path. And we are given that every single day. That opportunity is thrown at us every single day. It could be the smallest. It could be a word that somebody said with absolutely no meaning at all from them, but our grasp onto that meaning completely throws our day and completely throws our world.
Absolutely.
And going to COVID-19, we are being fed so much stuff from media and politicians and friends that we are currently being incredibly bombarded with potential directional changes that are moving us out of our harmonious flow. So, and I've noticed this the last 2 weeks. When we were talking earlier, I mentioned to you that Deepak Chopra was put a little post on Facebook the other day, and talking about grieving, and it really does feel like a grief, that the loss of identity of self, being pulled in so many different directions and not knowing who I am. And I've really felt that the last couple of weeks. This week, last week and the beginning of this week, just started to get back into the understanding of, I have a choice to get embroiled in all the stuff that's going on or not. And last week, I was getting pulled deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in. I was being smothered by noise external to my own internal wisdom. And it took me the 2 weeks to go through that process. But also I think that was a cathartic process as well, because you see in everything that you are witnessing in everybody else, those aspects of yourself that you know are there in existence, that you don't want to surface, or you would like to see more of. So this bombardment of everybody's ideas and decisions and thoughts and behavior is showing me all of those aspects of self that I know reside in me, because I inherently connected to everyone and everything. And as a result, I know that those things are in me. So it's been an exploration, not just from a yogic posture perspective, but also from a yogic life perspective. How am I choosing to allow these things to affect me? Are they in alignment with my moral compass? And if they're not, what am I doing allowing them to be taking me off my path?
And that is, wow, it can be so liberating. I wonder, Nia, right? And
for sure.
This choice, we often think, just in particular during this time, we kind of feel all forced into and locked into, that we feel that we don't have any control or any choice. But actually, if we really look closer, if we really in that even slow down and embrace, we actually discover there is a lot of choice. As I said, I can buy into and I can get hooked and it's spiraling down and pulls me down, or I can use it as an opportunity to find out a little bit more about myself and develop further insight. And that is so powerful in the long run. So I hope everyone sort of kind of finds some benefits in sort of exploring this as they go along, and moment to moment, and flowing through the moment. And whenever they get stuck, the resistance to the stuckness, that's actually the problem, not the stuckness, the resistance.
Yes.
And just seeing there is choice. I can work with that. I can make it workable. And then it brings me back to a flow.
Yes.
Wonderful. Neil,
I think also, just say one other thing. I think also there is a necessity to accept that a situation is taking place that we don't have much control of. But what I do have control of is how I respond to the external stuff. So if I can accept and know that these things are going to happen, irrespective of how I conduct myself, then I go into that, right, I know what my correct conduct is, and then come from that space.
Absolutely, I echo that. Yes, it is this what's within my control, what's outside my control, and just accepting what can I do within that space here, right? Yes. And that is so inspiring to hear what's working for you and what you noticed within that experience. Neil, there's so much to talk about, but I'm also mindful of that these sessions are also a little bit of practice session. And as I said, maybe we could catch up and maybe in a different format and talk a little bit more about this stuff. It is. Yeah. So I wonder, is there any chance that you could sort of guide us through maybe 10 minutes?
I would love to, yes.
Practice, yeah?
Yes. So just a little preface for this. The Soul Sanctuary Safaris, I take yoga safari retreats to Southern Africa. We spend time in the Kruger National Park, and just being back in nature and immersing yourself in the wilderness, and just peeling all those layers back to the rawness of what is happening on a natural level, watching lions do their thing and elephants do their thing. It just doesn't get any better than peeling it back and watching those guys. And one morning on my first ever retreat, I'd woken up really early, and then just for some reason I was listening to the birds outside, and this meditation came to me, and I think it would be nice just to share that meditation with people right now, and hopefully give them a tool that if they want to reflect on at any stage through the rest of the week or the rest of their lives, that they've got this very simple tool or technique to take into a meditation for themselves.
Wonderful. I take myself off the screen. I just stop my video so you can take over, Neil, and thank you.
Okay, so all I'd like you to do is find a nice, comfortable seated position. If you want to lie down on the floor, you're more than welcome to. And as you become comfortable, just close the eyes down. Just bring a little bit of awareness and focus to your breath. And allowing that in-breath just to come in through the nostrils, to expand and inflate into the entirety of the body. And if you want to take the awareness down into the belly, the abdomen softens, and we just invite the breath to inflate and expand the abdomen. The navel rises, rib cages begins to puff out, back of the ribs begin to expand. At the top of the chest and collarbones also starting to expand. And as you bring that awareness into the abdomen, as you invite the breath into the abdomen, maybe a small smile starts to appear on your face, radiating into the eyes, down into the heart center. As we start to notice the heart center, the big bony prominence at the center of the chest, right in the middle of the rib cage. Just breathing into that heart center for a few breaths. And starting to notice the sounds and sensations around you. And if you possibly can, if there are birds singing in your garden or close by you, just tuning into the sound of the birds for a few seconds. And now, keeping that sound of the birds just in the back of the mind, we're going to come back to the heart center, and we're going to visualize the rib cage. Now, in your mind's eye, just stripping out all the internal organs from that rib cage, so that the rib cage itself is now an actual cage. And inside that actual cage are the birds that you've just been hearing. And what I'd like you to do is just to attribute a feeling, fear, anger, self-judgment, disappointment, whatever it might be that you want to attribute, a negative feeling, something that maybe has been with you the last couple of weeks throughout the process, lack of control. Whatever it is that has been coming up for you, rising up for you on an emotional level, just attribute that emotion to one of those birds. And those birds are fluttering around in that rib cage. Just notice each emotion, notice each bird, its colors, maybe its individual song. And all these birds are frustrated also. They're pent up in this cage looking for somewhere to go. So what I'd like you to do now is bring your awareness back to the heart center, that big bony prominence at the center of the chest. And imagine that heart center now is a doorway, a little doorway to your cage. I'd like you to open that cage doorway, still being mindfully aware of the birds that reside within the cage, the emotions that you've given to those birds, the feelings that you've given to those birds. And as that door to the front of your cage begins to open, I would like you to invite your birds to fly away. Your fear, your anxiety, your pain, your self-judgment, lack of self-control, whatever it is that you have given to those birds, just invite those birds to leave. You may notice some of the birds are a little bit more stubborn. Those emotions and feelings that have been there for a little longer may reside a little longer in that caged area, not wanting to leave, not wanting to go. But those birds that are leaving, just watch them fly freely off into the distance. Maybe noticing their song starting to get quieter and quieter as they fly towards the horizon. And if there are still a few birds left in your cage, very patiently, very kindly, and very lovingly, just beckon them to come out. Just let them know that there will be a sense of safety as they fly away. As you reinforce the safety to the birds as they fly away, just reinforce that sense of safety to self. That maybe this feeling, this emotion, this fluttering bird within your rib cage is ready to leave, no longer needs to be held on to. And when you notice the last of those birds fly off, slowly and gently close the door to your cage and just sit quietly in this state of stillness, this state of emptiness as we let go of all those things that we've been holding on to. If as you close the door, you notice there are still just a couple little birds sat in the corners or perching up high in the top of the cage, just reopen the door. Let them go, let them fly free. And with the freedom of the birds, just start to notice the freedom you've created for yourselves, no longer burdened, no longer needing to carry around those feelings or emotions any longer. And then just starting to come back to the breath again, starting to retune back into your inhalations and exhalations, bringing yourself back into this present moment, bringing yourself back into this physical body. And if it helps to bring you back into your physical form, making some small movements through fingers and through toes. And then slowly just allowing the eyes to flutter open. And then rejoining us back as we come back into this moment. So just a little simple meditation there for you, just to easily take away. It doesn't take too long at all. You can notice when you're feeling burdened, when you're feeling smothered or suffocated. Just closing the eyes down, coming back to this idea of the rib cage being an actual cage, those feelings being beautiful birds. And just knowing that any stage you want to open that cage door to let those feelings out, just letting them fly off. Beautiful, Regina. I don't know if you want to come back on for a few minutes to have a last little chat before we close down. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
Wow. Thank you so much. I had this shivering all the way through my body.
Nice.
And this play. I'm just inviting the people who are live right now, sort of, just use the little chat function and share, or if you have a question, even you have a couple more minutes. But that was such a beautiful compassion practice too. Really wonderful to just imagine that I can let go, and again this choice aspect just was felt and sensed again. And even this, I had little birds in there I had just to hold in my hands. They didn't really want to go. So
I think that's a very beautiful thing about we often see our negative emotions as negative.
Yeah.
That sounds strange, but they are a driving force for us. They serve us purpose, and they're in that bird-like quality. There is a preciousness to them as well. We need to understand that they are precious, that they have messages for us. But once we've understood the message, then we need to let it go. We need to let it fly free, and the cage will be filled again. We'll have other fears and we'll have other self-judgments, but they may take on a slightly different view or a different look, and we may need to go through the process again. But there is a fragility to those emotions that we harbor, and we need to know that it is safe for us to have them, to utilize them, and allow them to drive us. I've seen how the fear of this change for me as a business person, it has driven me to become so proactive, to be doing things that I've been putting on hold for ages, to create an online forum to run my classes from, which scares me. I don't mind being in front of people, but this virtual thing is so foreign, and the physical disconnection that I've been feeling over the last few weeks as a result of removing myself from the physicality of being around people has been hard work. And it's only been through the platform of this kind of connection, through Zoom, through Facebook, through FaceTime and Messenger, just to have small glimpses of contact and connection with people that has kept my sanity. But also more positively than that is knowing that it's elicited responses in me that has driven me to create the kind of life that I want to create. And I think we're all being given that opportunity right now, that in this isolated time we can reflect on, if I could be whoever I wanted to be, who would it look like? What would it look like? Who would I be surrounded by? Where would I be? And what is stopping me from creating that Neil that I want to become? And it's only my own beliefs around my potential. And as soon as I start to really realize that my potential is limitless, as is everybody's, the only thing that limits us is what our mind puts on. So if we can clear the mind away, that the potential comes, flooding forwards, that we can create anything we want to create. Anything, and I mean anything.
That was so well said.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and so encouraging. And I hope everyone can hear that and work with it and revisit and be kind to oneself. And just also remembering, we often feel there's this physical isolation, but actually we all interconnected. Don't
very
let the
much.
skin be the boundary. Just let it flow, right? Just concluding with this word that you just spoke about. And Neil, thank you so much for
It's
your
been my
time.
pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
everyone being here. And I hope we can catch up again. That was
Yeah,
fun.
look, I'd love to do this. Is like hopefully you can hear the passion and excitement and the babble that I come up with that lets you know that I love having this opportunity to share these things. It's great. Thank you.
Yes, and you have a lot to share. So I'm looking forward to our next session. And everyone, stay tuned, be well, and I see you tomorrow again. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Oh,
See you.
thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Neil. There's someone
Thank you.
saying thank you. Yeah,
My pleasure. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, maybe I just need to mention this is recorded. So we will make it available on Facebook. And if you want to share it with your community, you can do so. Just wanted to mention that too.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.